Jesse J. Chick, NA analyst, complaining about the food in that he was like, I cook this myself. And then a lot of Danish people, like Alex Zeronic, like Nicholas Pengu.
Can you complain if you've cooked it yourself?
I don't know.
I'm not sure you can.
I mean, the big brains of NA.
I mean, to be fair, Nick told me that Nick told me that the whole country's wonderful.
Yeah.
So.
But he's a little bit biased, I think.
He didn't really tell me that. It just made me laugh. I thought, which Danish people do I know? I thought, obviously. No, we know too. I mean, I know Topcasters. It's not a big thing. But...
we go way back.
It's not a big thing. No, genuinely, I'm really looking forward to the Copenhagen Major. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It looks great.
Solus gone. Solus removed here from Chalet. Yeah, okay. Yeah, just do it. She's so good with her little bunny ears running around, hopping about, causing mischief and drama. You think about the Intel game. You think about drones and the many tricky spots that they can get themselves hit on. Hey, that's what also gets removed. Valkyrie. It's just common sense for these bands. Yeah, the buck is...
quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun buck stuff that you can do. You've got to think about, obviously, the bedroom side. It's 2 stories of soft. If you get into garage, you can open up all the way into bathroom.
Well, we see. I was going to say we do see quite a lot of use of those triple angles. If you get and you don't have to get very far into big garage. To be honest, you get yourself into car garage. Literally, all you need to do is just blast the wall open. If Red Light's wonderful enough to zoom downstairs, we can just have a look at it. It's certainly down. One more to car garage. One more to car garage.
There he is. Wrong garage.
Other garage.
Red Light. I know you're Medix's protege.
If you go straight in through that left-hand soft wall that you can see there, thank you very much. Perfect, absolutely perfect and wonderfully done. You just buck straight in there, you buck up above your head, and one more floor above, and it basically stops people playing in Solarium. It makes the stairs very difficult to play on. You can just make all of this a nightmare by very quickly and easily using both.
Yeah, to get rid of him. And who's often a good other pick on this? Flores. I love Flores on this side. I usually bring him when I try and put the attacks to you because you can just remove so much. There's a lot of tricky ways and places to drive things in. There's a lot of curious angles and holds and plants and objects to hide and root and run and roam on. And it's also why it ties into banning off of a lot of the intel drive from the other side. But hey, we're in. We're on the hold on the top. They've got themselves the stretch here towards the top of blue, and sorry, are you all right?
Sorry,
you're having a moment.
A little BTS for you.
Another cheeky little
another cheeky S&M BTS. Yeah. My left ear's gone again. It keeps going in and out. But I've done the sound guy a favour. I've thought that it might be a little broken wire or somewhere in the cable from my headset. It turns out that it is, and I've managed to locate it as well. So if I hold my wire in my hand exactly like I am at the minute, my left ear cut works.
Can we request some tape to set that? I have a tape measure, but unfortunately...
you could measure the tape.
I could measure the tape
but
that's
not cut
needed.
the tape because you don't
No. Well, we'll see if that can hold on, or you'll have to hold on itself, and they'll hold on towards the take here underneath. Jegs. He's been able to get the opener here in the meantime. Dan is gone off the board, and so is about 1:30. Here's the Flores run that I love to do. It just absolutely removes all of the territory around Piano. If you're playing it quick and clever, they've got themselves the breach onto box as well, the pressure onto the balcony too. They're looking to see if they can try and just stretch in, get the swing round, get the plant, the cover goes down, and they are tucked right close onto it. It's going to take a shoulder of damage from the destruction of the wall. Ace is offering all the cover that you could ever possibly want from the man. Packball does go down, but so does Pasha. It leaves them in what is a very dangerous situation. The single player gets caught out in a throw, and a flawless, though with a player on the ground, is the perfect way for WYLDE to start, because my biggest complaints of them in the previous map was that they weren't quite working as a unit. They weren't quite working as a strike of 5. They weren't quite working as an ability of, working together. They were struggling to piece their tactics together. They were struggling to work as a unit. There was fantastic.
It was. Aces, just coming in with a really important... It was all Aces. And the big problem for VP here is I feel like we're onto a map that WYLDE have shown us that they can play well during the first stage. And Jegs has come in after a 19-10 game and got 3 kills in the first round. And it's always one of the questions that we ask. Will the players continue in that form? Will it,
Yes.
will they not? If Jegs is going to do that, you've got a big problem.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. And also, Ace is getting off the board with 2 kills this early. It was very late into the game from his standards of how he hit the sort of kill board on the previous one there. WYLDE as well, going for the plant, going for that play, going for that hold, and how things worked. It was something that we'd otherwise not really seen from the Merchant Clubhouse, whether it was pressure, whether it was just the map, whether it was Virtus Pro, how they played against them. It doesn't matter. It's how things came together. And here, they have come together much better, much sharper, much more aggressive, and much more with an idea of how they want to go against this. The second round comes through. Dan almost caught out there by the drone that sort of baited its way in. He was the first body dropped in the previous round, and he almost met the same fate against the same Jegs, who's, as you said, running on similar energy from the previous map.
You'll be glad to know the saga of my headset has been concluded. We
Yeah.
have a wonderful sound engineer who's just been in
Thank you.
with a replacement for me. I will feed back details as to what I discovered about the problem with the last one.
I mean,
after the game, but yeah, all done.
It was perfect. That's professionalism.
From
your end and from production's end, you worked out a problem, production solved the problem.
Wonderful teamwork.
Didn't miss a second a seat.
Wonderful teamwork, just like we see in the server here. How'd you like that one? Jegs gets himself into mezzanine. Going to be attacking onto kitchen and dining this time, so it's all about the top floor clearance to begin with. Starts moving through, conscious of bathroom, drawn ahead of him. But Virtus Pro aren't going to mind this too much. They've got the master walls reinforced off at the minute. They're playing back into master, so there's still going to be a bit of work to actually clear these players out. Jegs is going to have to sort of take a little bit of a leap of faith as he comes out of office and tries to push forward onto master door.
The hold is curious to me because usually it's a big fight to get that, and look at this. Packball, they have the vertical. They can just move in and plant, and, well, there's hard walls and a swing with a player watching it. That's a bit of free territory. The Echo drone does stop the plant, but you've still got to try and bite and fight your way in, and there's still a lot of ways to cover it. The Echo can only cover so much. They lose 2 up top, but then bite back with another, and Joystick's retaken the vertical on the second story. Shepard has done the distance inside as well, and I mean, they've somehow pieced it together here. They really took a gamble and handed a room over and went with the idea of we can retake from a single door. They lost the body in the engagement, but they won it out on the second, and Virtus Pro claim that round from a sort of idea of going, well, we can retake it.
I tell you now, this last map is just going to be an absolute slugfest, I think, between these two teams. They both want to go to bed tonight knowing that they are locked into the major. The loser, it is not to say will be out of the major. They have another opportunity when they play the loser of the third match, which will be played after this one.
Yep.
So there is another sort of second bite at the cherry for whichever team loses here, but you just want to get it done. You just want to get it done and know that you guarantee that spot, and both of them are fighting so hard for it. Shepard played beautifully. He cooked them up a treat here from kitchen. Just look at this. Absolutely beautiful on the Echo. It's this next one for me though. I think the replay goes on. Just that one. Absolutely beautiful. He's getting peppered from his right, and he doesn't, and that was an unintended kitchen pun.
It was beautifully played.
Gets peppered from the right and finds the man in main lobby. It was just really well played from Virtus Pro. 1-1, and there's very little to separate these two now.
It's just blow for blow, and it's fantastic. I'm curious about the hold there. We came up the first on the flawless, and I really thought that, the Echo drone was the first bat, a surprise, but then they had to get so aggressive on the retake to the point where they literally just had to throw players in on a single door up top from the bedroom side because the wall was fully locked. They had to win that engagement. If they didn't, I think it still would have potentially turned into a Wilds round. The Echo had to wide swing. Virtus Pro's plan works, but I'm still in the camp of I don't think it was a great plan. Here's something a bit more traditional. They have the stretch. They have the watch towards the fight. Dan could escape if he wants to. At a point, they're just going to try and burn as much time as possible is the idea on that top hatch.
It always comes down to those 3 positions. Dan, Joystick, and always Joystick has the flexibility to move out to Library Stairs if he needs to. But as soon as one of them falls, the others need to think about their exits because it becomes very difficult to hold on. Always is going to pick up a big opener onto Aces though, taking down the Iana, a couple of nades as well. I think one of them had been used, but one of them not maybe. So it's a good start from Virtus Pro.
I saw Aces droning out the loose player. It was around Kitchen that he wanted to try and find the engagement, but he was last seen on Fireplace Door, so I think someone else just put the pressure onto him instead. Teb, they're going to start the burn, and the break of the bolt happens right underneath the window, so you can't move. And I said he wants to waste time in utility, and they have done fantastically here for it. Puts a couple of shots over the top. That one will go out. There's the flash. Finally, the player has to move. He's caught. Well done by Jegs, ready and waiting. But still, how much was thrown at that single problem now, and how much do they still have to do?
I would expect WYLDE now to be able to think about getting library control. Jegs manages to get another onto Pasha, and that should be the top floor. Theirs takes down Always as well. 4 versus 2, and all of a sudden, with a minute left, you're wondering, have they got enough time? And 10 seconds later, you're thinking they've got more than enough time as they manage to get themselves a 2-person advantage here. Shepard's going to be trying to hold on to that library hatch and also the double window jumping at the same time, but Joystick ultimately is forced away and back onto site. So it's now down to WYLDE to posture and to position themselves into a spot where they can get this diffuser down if they need to.
I mean, they did very well there. They forced the players. There was a couple of sort of gamble fights that Virtus Pro took and led into. Joystick with the rotate back up the stairs. Wants to try and retake some of this territory here and just swings around. Misses the engagement onto the Flores, but that's the goal sign for the players inside the site. Shepard gets the lockdown on the back end. 10 seconds, and they've got to try and drop and rock the hatch itself. They go for the fight onto the supply line. Caught by the crossfire set up there. There's the close swing. And out of what was a 4 versus 2 with 30 seconds, Virtus Pro with barely any wiggle room take the round.
And this, you look at that situation and the first thing in my mind is, how are Virtus Pro doing this? How are they doing this? But then you look at the players that were left.
Yep.
You've got Shepard, you've got Joystick. As you've said already, 2 massively experienced players. They've played on the biggest stages. Not only have they played on the biggest stages, they've performed on the biggest stages. And they are not going to be rattled by a 2v4. You know, they know that they've got it in their locker to do it. And they've just come out and played that wonderfully.
I mean, you look at the round just before. You look at the Kitchen round as well. It was Joystick retaking the top. It was Shepard swinging with, you know, the guns and playing the echo. And it's just that sort of change of face. It's something where if you need players to pop off, it's the perfect time. Jegs is still phenomenal. Aces has stepped up a little bit better than he did at the start of it, but you're still, you know, not quite having that multifaceted thing from WYLDE yet.
The thing with Shepard is, like, we've seen him do that so many times.
Oh, yeah.
And a bit of me knows there's a good chance that he's probably sat there with his foot up on his chair, just like totally chill.
A slight smile.
Yeah, just like, yeah, that happened, and on we go.
I mean, more than happy to. WYLDE, you know, that you could see how they reacted as soon as the shots were hit onto the Flores. They used that as their opportunity to go. They used that as their idea.
It was on plan.
I am wondering if maybe it was the same thing on Kitchen, where they saw an opportunity, tried to take it, and they just didn't expect Virtus Pro to be able to fight off the position. You have to make sure that I think you still pay some of that direct respect towards what they can do in man down and clutch situations, and sometimes situations that might be impossible for other teams. Virtus Pro can make those moves happen, and it's twice in a row that WYLDE sort of bit at an opportunity and had it bite back much harder.
Just Pasha there watching onto the game's window, wanting to prevent any potential ingress coming in from there. We're up to the top floor once again. It's going to be Master Bedroom. We saw this back in round 1. It was WYLDE's attacking win. Chalet, historically, we would say favours the attackers. Not always the case. We do see that sort of switching up a little bit more recently. But we would expect, I think, you know, WYLDE really need to be looking for a 3-3 half here as a minimum before pushing forward. It wouldn't surprise me, you know, that's what we've seen both in map 1 and map 2 was a very even exchange to begin with before one team was able to get a hold of it. But right now, Virtus Pro playing a very sort of, I won't go as far as turtle defence, because I think they've got 1 or 2 players downstairs, so they are looking for some vertical as well. But they are they're in a very small confined area, very close to each other to be able to impact on any potential deaths.
Teb rolling the Flores through. I complimented the use of this ability and operator before, and Wild's round, I complimented that as well. It was tight. It was very well put together here, and Virtus Pro are well aware of it. They haven't handed over an early fight. They haven't given an early engagement to Jags, and he's going to still try and find it, where it's Dan, who was that victim, makes one of Packful on the back end. Asus, he's going to tuck back in, try and get that kit. It was the swing angle, and he's going to go for the sneaky plant under the cover of the smokes and the cover of Hungry, but it's Pasha that finds Teb. It's a suffer of Hungry and a suffer of the kit planter as well from what was a flawless opener for WYLDE here last time we were on this site. Is slowly teetering to a flawless close here from Virtus Pro. 30 seconds, 2 versus 5. The kit isolated and obviously being watched from being dropped in that position twice. This bounce, the pull of the pin, won't go any further than the close swing. 20 seconds, and Virtus Pro, they're not overextending. In fact, they're still just watching that kit. They've got it all on lock. There's one handed to Jags. There's one picked back up. Virtus Pro, 3 in a row.
Virtus Pro looking really good so far, especially over the last couple of rounds. Really starting to stretch their legs, extending the manner in which they won that one, to be fair. You know, able to pick that one up near flawless, as you said. So much so that WYLDE are going to call that tactical timeout. They need that minute to try and just level out exactly what is going on here. But Virtus Pro, they just, I think, again, it comes to that experience. They're a team that once they get sort of on top of you on the scoreboard, they're not going to relent. They're not going to let up. You know, they know when the opportunity is there, and they're going to become more and more difficult to play as this goes on. As they get each round closer, it's not going to be a case of them, you know, struggling to close it out or not, I don't think. So for me, like, the time is now for WYLDE. They need to be getting onto this and getting a couple of rounds back.
It's the perfect time for a timeout, as you say.
I agree, I think so.
They need to stop this flow. They need the 3-3 half, and it's the first time that they'll be the ones trying to piece it back together from being on that back foot. And it's, unfortunately, some of the looser play that we've seen from them. They're seeing opportunities. They know what they're capable of. And for the many questions that we asked, best of 3, the length of play, how many times. It's been a long day. It's been a lot of rounds, and high-intensity rounds as well. Both the first 2 maps were everything thrown at the wall, everything given, and that has a limit. That has a limit for everybody. And, you know, you're trying to do your best plays. You're trying to play your best Siege for the chance at playing the best Siege there is, but you're trying to do it for 3 hours.
This is it's, you know, it is a different environment, and it's one that does take adapting to. You know, I look at this, and do I think that WYLDE can turn this around? Absolutely, 100%. I think they just need to get started sooner rather than later. I think, you know, if it's a 5-1 half, that's a mountain to climb. That is, you know, you're in very dangerous territory. So I think, like I say, now is the time. This for me is kind of a pivotal round now. As soon as Virtus Pro maybe have that guarantee of a 4-2 if they get this round, it starts getting very, very tough. I like this from Teb. Just, you can open multiple windows all at the same time. Just get your banana pellets on all of them, and it can just create a little bit of confusion as to maybe exactly where you're coming from.
It's good as well because, you know, you can see them ready to counter it. You pick up the pace. The comments about a Habana are, they're slow. The pellets are very easy to trick, very easy to stop if you're in a position to. However, they aren't really noisy until you let them. You can leave them. You don't have to sort of insta-deploy as you do on Selmas, as you sort of do on other gadgetry. So it's a good usage, and it's a bit of restructuring that comes through. Late Castle and another pair of X-Kairos to remove it.
I think we all remember the last round of Kitchen and how it ended. Shepherd with a huge triple to keep Virtus Pro in it. Are they going to have to rely on those sort of numbers from him again? They will be hoping not. They're still holding on to the top floor as it stands. And look at the, you know, the operators that will be labelled architects by Ubisoft in there. We've got the Azami, we've got the castle, we've got, you know, so many obstacles for WYLDE to work around. We've got Teb just working in from piano there. Hungry's going to open up the site wall, actually. I thought that was going to be the office wall or even the wall through into Master, but no, that's going to be the site wall directly in. So that gives access for that diffuser to potentially go down. Packbull is in place as well on the Ossa. Maybe going to try and play in behind those Talon shields.
I was going to say, that's the sort of change here that we've got. Obviously, they've slightly opted for the swing round onto the Thermite. Instead, it's in the pockets of Hungary. That Echo drone is just watching everything from above. We talked about utility and its importance, and that's the sort of thread through. Joystick finds Teb. He was being watched on the rotate. Now, Jegs has to be a little bit more cautious of what's coming, but he has no idea that he's still being watched. There's still a camera directly above him, getting all the pings, all the calls on the intel. That grenade was never going to connect. The second has made its way down. It's ready to bait the play. The C4 is going to get ripped and does take out the Echo drone. I'm assuming hit the Talon shield as well. And the Ossa almost gets caught from the swing, but Aces gets one. Joysticks gets Jegs. Vertical has fallen back into the favor here of Virtus Pro. They're back above and they're causing some problems. 20 seconds. Uh-oh. How do you retake this now from the side of WYLDE? You have to try and break your way through. They're putting danger above. You don't really have a lot of territory for your name. You've got either a fight above that has to happen in the next 5 seconds at the same time. There it is. Aces is able to take Joystick, but now you've got to see if you can get the plant down. Is there still any danger? Is there still an Echo drone? There is still always. And well, with that, a tied out round, and Virtus Pro, they keep themselves driving.
Virtus Pro had all the utility that they needed in that situation. You just saw it perfectly. 10 seconds left to go. Packbull's deploying the Talon shield. If there's nothing on side to clear that shield out, there's a good chance that diffuser goes down, because how do they impact onto it? But you just see the Nitro sailing over the top, and that is it. When that shield can't stay in position, Packbull's low health, it's likely to fall apart from there, because it's going to put the diffuser down inside a site, and VP just need to wait for people to filter their way in then. 4-1 to VP. Solid defense so far. If WYLDE can grab around here, then they start thinking towards the defense themselves. As I said, we do generally see the attackers have at least a reasonable time of it on Chalet, but maybe it's one of those days the defense will come through in the second half as well.
I think that round there, WYLDE were piecing together opportunity better than what we saw in a couple of previous rounds.
Yes, I'd agree.
And just dash towards it. They got unlucky with a couple of engagements, and there was, as you said, a lot in the pockets here. An IQ would have been fantastic to...
Especially after losing out, because you didn't completely lose out because of the Echo drones, but the Echo drones had an impact last time around.
I just think there's never a bad time to bring an IQ on this map specifically.
At the minute, yeah.
But a great gun, the utility's fantastic, it's got the range, and the sort of clear, that, I'm not going to say that there's free territory, but territory you usually fight over is something you can get a handle on a bit better. They're obviously playing the game of knowing. They're obviously playing a game of, no, you can have this, and you've got to be suspicious and say, but why?
Absolutely. Bar and Gaming is going to be our site once again. This time the Nomad brought along. That's just going to prevent a little bit of movement. Could be smart, to be fair. Prevent a little bit of movement in and around Library from the defenders. I'm not sure how aware Joystick is of the positions of those air jabs, but without the player for Virtus Pro up in the corner of the Library, which they had last time, it's going to make it difficult for him to be able to move through there. Always continues. That's 4 kills in a row if you count the 3 at the end of the last round, but Aces is there to get one of his own onto Pasha, leaving us 4 versus 4. We had some smoke utility deployed inside a site. That has now dissipated and is not going to see any action coming through that utility.
I mean, whether they try to bring all the focus round onto the sort of attempt on the plant on the back end or sneak their way in under the site, always was watching, ever present on the top, and Hungry once again, unfortunately, leaves a round without being able to have an impact against an opposing player. They lose the next, and it's one of the ones that have been a big impact, and there goes both. Suddenly, Teb and Packbull, who have only been able to get a single kill between the pair of them across all the rounds up to this point. Now they've got to see if they can try and find the remaining 4. Teb, a bit of a scrap and a scrape on the back end. A lot more damage done to him than his opponent. They know fully where he is. Worst of all, they know where the kit is too. 5-1 here. The biggest deficit we've seen between these two teams.
The difference that we're seeing in Virtus Pro at the minute, right now, versus, and it's going to be particularly important moving forward from this point. Virtus Pro right now versus Virtus Pro in the first 3 rounds of Skyscraper. it's like two different teams at the minute. You know, they've just really taken it, I'd say, up a gear. They've taken it up a couple of gears, you know, realistically, and they're just on a different level. The important thing now is Virtus.pro are on the attack, and we know that's where Virtus.pro struggle sometimes. As Fresh, you know, points out quite a lot, they like to play that full clear. They burn a lot of time. They'll go through. They haven't done as much of that today. So interested to see. They're going straight down to the basement here, Wild. So there is an opportunity to try and hold on to the whole map, to try and burn as much time as you can for Virtus.pro. We see it, you know, so often now. They'll have one or two roamers up on the top floor that drop down, back to site, and just burn time as they go. And we'll see how Virtus.pro handle that.
Pressure's on. Wild, unfortunately, and you're on a side that doesn't always bring the biggest success, but success can still be made. It's this game. It is a game of two halves, regardless of map statistics, regardless of every other number that we like to run through our heads building into the sort of strategizing of how this might go. How it goes is only down to the players inside the game itself, and they have a chance to start that sort of crawl back here. Will be the opener. It's an important first round. The breach will go right against the Bandit, and they'll hear that and sort of turn around and go, well, it's failed, let's go elsewhere.
Or the beauty of Bandit tricking. I do appreciate a nice clean one like that. Packbolt able to take down the exothermic charge. And the importance of that is that it just keeps that front side closed. And I talk about this quite often. If you can open rear and you can open front, it just makes it very difficult for the defenders inside a site, because there's no safety. It's that phantom pressure. It just keeps them spinning on their heel. Spinning straight out of the round is Dan, as Jegs manages to find a headshot onto him. And that is a great start. It's exactly what Wild needed. It's the Jackal that's gone down. So any roamers, any players out in the map have just found themselves a little bit more freedom to stay potentially a little bit longer.
Wild, they get that early, they get that body, they also get the wall, and that's an important part because it becomes quite awkward to push this structure on the follow-through. You've only really got one more of those charges to break through, and, well, do you see if you can double down onto Snowmo, or is that now going to stay as a breach, and instead you go for the West Main? It seems like they're a little bit stuck on what to do, and it's going to start with the tear across the top. There's a couple of players loose on the far end there, keeping themselves a bit safe and pretty, ready for the rotate down the Solarium stairs if need be, but all this is doing is wasting Virtus.pro time, and that is not a resource that they've been fantastic at in some showdowns.
Ace is just holding that long angle through to Mezzanine, hoping that somebody strays across. Ace is, as I said, taking full advantage. Doesn't quite get the view through onto Joystick as he moves down the main stairs. But Ace is, as I say, taking full advantage of that opportunity to stay out on the roam with the Jackal being killed. Packbull with a beautiful Nitro to take down the man inside of main lobby. And that leaves us 45 seconds left to go. Virtus.pro have managed to get the main breach open, but there's not going to be a lot of pressure around the rear side. Teb's ready for the backstab push coming in from Pasha. This could be a flawless round, and what a way to start their defences it could be for Wild. Teb is the only one with any damage here always. He's going to have to dip himself away. 25 seconds left to go, and it looks like he might just try and keep himself in some safety for the rest of the round.
I think this is a lot here about both teams throughout the whole game. I think this is less Wild overperforming and more Virtus.pro underperforming here on their first attack. It was cautious, it was a bit slow, it was a bit second-guessy, and it was a bit awry from what's been run. Wild have been playing a good game throughout this whole map, throughout this whole series. Wild have generally been playing a good game. It's just not quite been able to find its feet against Virtus.pro, who are just playing a better game on the opening half. This is what happens if they play a worse game. Wild's pace can still continue. They can still bite and fight these rounds. It's just you cannot always rely on your opponents making mistakes. You just have to opt to be able to make opportunities out of them. Bedroom is where we'll go next, and the more rounds Wild get before Virtus.pro get their match point one is the big song right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Wild just need to now double down on that energy that they've just got out of that round and push forward, get themselves round 3, round 4. All of a sudden, you're back in touching distance. And the thing is, there's the mental game then. Virtus.pro are sat there thinking, well, maybe it's just the defence that's doing it. You know, they know that they struggle on the attack. They know that that's where their sort of worst performances have come generally, when they've struggled to get rounds won over the entire stage. It's been on the attack. And so really you want to put that into their mind as much as you can. You want to, you know, sort of play into those demons almost. So WYLDE are going to take us up to the top floor. They're going to be looking for their third round on the board. It's going to be a slightly different defence here. They were able, as I suggested, they might to lean into the roaming game. They were able to burn that time for Virtus.pro. They picked up kills along the way. It was perfectly executed. It's not going to be necessarily quite the same here. You know, yes, you can play players underneath, but it's just a little bit of a different mentality needed for that top floor hold.
Virtus.pro, can they match some of the pace they had earlier on? The canister popped just on the side of the Solarium window. Joystick's going to see if he can stress and pressure on the opposite end. There's going to have to be a bit of a burning, and then there's going to be a break and some fire on the back. But that bounced drone, always love to do it, gets itself in a very solid tucked position and can do this all the way around onto the back end, all the way tucked onto the other side, and get the full juggle and just what's being watched, what's being monitored, and what is being held. There's that 2 stories we talked about and was expertly highlighted at the very beginning of the game by Red Lake, and that's what WYLDE has removed. They were cautious of it because they can see quite obviously Dan likes to do that, and Dan is also a hell of a buck player.
Always just going to be deploying the air jab there into Trophy. Just conscious Virtus.pro of the potential for those flanks. As I said, it is possible to move around underneath the map. You're just not going to play too many players in that position throughout the game. Now then, Joystick is going to be checking Solar Stairs, just checking out what utility is there. Going to send a nade in to clear that out, which should be successful. Yes, it will. Dan manages to pick up aces. Good opener for Virtus.pro there. Jegs is the one that is playing down underneath. On the alibi does have, doesn't have the impact nades, has brought along the shield, so has brought along utility for site itself, but maybe limited in the impact that he can have from underneath. Dan absolutely cuts down Packball Shepherd onto Teb. It's falling apart for WYLDE here, 5 versus 2. It is in favour of Virtus.pro now.
Jag still watching from underneath, hoping to get the swinging and a lucky catch to buy himself some time, but the Flood and most importantly the Kit is making its way in from Solarium. They're going for the flat push revealed by the bulletproof cam, the pop of the EU1D. Hungry now, all that has to wait, but not long. Joystick with the catch over the far end. It is Jegs versus the world. Oh, and it's not a nice world to live in. Virtus.pro, 1 round away from booking themselves to Copenhagen.
What a performance we've seen out of them here on Shower. They've really turned up for it. I'll be honest, there was a, I had a feeling coming into this that this map might actually favour WYLDE. We saw them have a win on it during stage 1, and I just felt like they might be able to carry that momentum on Chalet through into this game. But no, Virtus.pro have turned up so far and said this is our major spot. We'll be the ones qualifying here and now. Thank you very much. And they are 1 round away from doing so. No mistakes left for WYLDE now, and you just wonder, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of pressure on the team at this point. Don't get me wrong, they've had a fantastic start here. They've come out, they've won all of the maps through stage 1. They've still got another opportunity to get through to the major, and then even if they don't do it, then they still go through to, further chances. But ultimately, it's got to be a lot of pressure in this situation, thinking, we've done so well so far, and this is maybe, where it's going to end for today at least. It's going to be a tough fight back here as the 4 rounds, and I'm sure they're going to desperately want to get this done 4 rounds in a row and keep themselves fighting to overtime.
Virtus.pro. We've talked a big talk about some of your players being the best in clutch situations and really that cool-headed mentality that you want. Now's the time to prove it, and WYLDE try and get some of that fight back. As I said, it's not over, but you'd like to make sure that you have your best possible opportunities, especially after the long, daunting series we've had, because if that becomes what exhausts you, well, at least there's practice for the next one you might have to go through. The break underneath, the fly-through of an operator we haven't really seen in this showdown as of yet, but can be big. Bravo gets early on the take on the camera. Is going to see what else they can grab. Tucked over inside the site. The Maestro bubble just missed the first catch there.
so close, and that would have been such a big capture in terms of that site defense. But Teb's going to take a lot of damage up in Piano there. Needs to be cautious about any further fights going his way. The droning will continue, at least inside of Trophy. We've got smoke grenades going out over that side as well. So a lot of pressure mounting up here from Virtus Pro as they try to get themselves inside of the map. Joystick manages to find Hungry, but Jegs, he's there not quite in time, but at least still manages to get the trade.
I mean, it's an important take. Joystick has gone 10-4 this map. He hasn't been the biggest player for Virtus Pro throughout their run to get here, but if he's the one that pushes them over the edge, as he has done brilliantly this map so far, I mean, it's a big piece you want to take out of the puzzle. The swing comes in. Pasha over the top there, looking for the potential box engagement. The camera's already dropped and down. They're going up to double window. Dan's on the swing here on Piano as well. A minute, and Tev did suffer quite a lot. The Jaeger is going to have to slip away. Jegs, if we're talking about people that have been impacted, he is easily the one from Wild that has kept them swinging throughout this fight so far. A slow stall. A break in the action for the moment. Wild do not want to overstep, overhand and overhang over what is the overhanging arch and guillotine that is slowly getting closer and closer to them with 40 seconds left.
Pasha just searching, seeking, trying to get any angle that he can, using the destruction of that shotgun to try and find his man. Still 4 versus 4. This is going to be an explosive round, an explosive end to round 9 rather, as Jegs, he's rotating around and drops out back underneath, try and get himself back into sight. The long angle is being watched, but is safe for the time being. Pikebull turns away at the wrong time always, is able to find the kill. Dan doubles down on it. It's now a 4 versus 2 with 10 seconds left to go. Diffuser going down.
Shepard is holding on. Pasha has the cover from the vertical. Jegs gets caught as well. And Virtus Pro are going to Copenhagen after what was a long series. And let's be honest, fans of the team, a long time without seeing them on our grandest stages of Siege after getting very used to them. Virtus Pro, you are coming home.
What a way to do it as well. You know, look at those numbers. 9